Hello and welcome back, Exiles. Today I wanted to make a video talking about the Chieftain, just kind of informal conversation about the rework and how it feels to play Chieftain so far. Some things that work, some things that don't, some concerns that I have with the ascendancy points and how they kind of interact with each other. So I'm going to go through each of these points that I've taken and I've tested, and I want to talk about some potential changes that might be needed. Before I do that, though, just a general quick overview of what I'm doing so you guys can get a kind of an idea of the build. It is an Oros Flicker Strike build. Normally, this would be played on a Slayer, and a Slayer would probably be better than what this is, to be honest with you. But I wanted to try out the new stuff, the new tech, so this is where we're at. Using an All's Uprising here to get a free Purity of Fire, and I'm using Blood Magic, so I don't have to worry about mana. Yeah, okay. So let's talk about some of these points here. Now, I think there's a pretty big discrepancy between the defensive and the offensive nodes. Defensive nodes are very good. The offensive nodes, they don't really have very much synergy with each other and are kind of awkward. So let's start with the defensive. We'll start with the pros before we go to the cons. So the pros is that these are really good. Tsalio Cleansing Water says modifiers to fire resistance also apply to cold and lightning resistances at 50% of their value, unaffected by ignite, which basically means you can stack fire resistance and get capped out, which I've done. 277% increased fire resistance turns all of these into capped resistances, which is very nice. And then modifiers to maximum fire resistance also apply to maximum cold and lightning resistances. And I've got some, max res on the tree. There's more max res I can pick up, so I'm by no means done. But and the purity of fire gives me a couple too. So yeah, there's still a few more percent left to go, but already at 82%, feeling pretty tanky for elemental hits. So and because you can get really high amounts of fire resist, you can use the mechanics that deal with uncapped fire resistance. One of those is in the Fire Mastery, which is regenerate one life per second for each 1% uncapped fire res. The other big one is a helmet that increases your armor by 1% for each one. So you could have 277% increased armor or something like that. Pretty significant amount of armor increase for sure. But I'm not using that one right now just because I need the accuracy, but I will eventually swap to that once I get the gear required. So in terms of rating, I would say both of these are really good. This one's probably like an A tier. This one is like an S tier. Very good. All right, then we come down to the two damage nodes that I've taken. The Tawhoa's Forest Strength and the Tukwama's War's Herald. And these are kind of awkward and don't really work with each other. I started off with a slam build just to test the Fists of War. I'd like to see if Fists of War actually works with the War's Herald, or the Tawhoa's Chosen, sorry. And it does not, which is really unfortunate because this is a travel node to get to the Fist of War. So you would assume that the Fist of War works with it, but it does not. They're totally separate. That is a bit of a pain point. Makes playing slam builds feel really, it feels unrewarding to go all the way over here to get this, to have it not work with your Tawhoa's Chosen. The Ancestral Call does work with the strike version of Tawhoa's Chosen. However, anything that has to do with creating extra copies of your attack or having your attack do something outside of what it normally does doesn't work with the Tawhoa's Chosen. So an example of that would be like Shockwave support if you're using maces and for slams with your Fist of War. That would not work with the Tawhoa's Chosen. Another thing that doesn't work is multi-strike, which is very, very, very unfortunate because it basically means that strikes with Tawhoa's Chosen are a lot worse because most strike skills use multi-strike for targeting purposes. I'm using Flicker Strike, so Flicker Strike doesn't, you need multi-strike with it. It just feels terrible without it. That means that this is a wasted link for the Tawhoa's. And I'm actually not sure. It might actually be even worse than I think because multi-strike makes the first attack do less, and then the other two repeats do progressively more. But the Tawhoa's is only doing the first hit. Not really sure if it's just like not counting the gem or if it's actually screwing my damage over. I couldn't see during the testing. It was unclear. Another thing, they actually changed Tawhoa's Forest Strength from last patch. So let me just bring it up here. Tawhoa's Chosen says it's an instant cast time. It's got a 1 second cooldown and a 3 second duration. Now, it used to be deals 100% more damage and had a 2 second cooldown. So it used to be one big Giga Slam. But now it's a more frequent slam. And it just lasts for a couple seconds. And then, you know, let's say that there's like 2 Tawhoa's Chosen out. Each one will only use a skill every 1 second. So even if you can get more of these out from your hits, it won't increase the DPS because they're gated by the 1 second cooldown time. The big problem with this though is that this build, this whole ascendancy is kind of like, it seems to be built around ignite damage and things like that, but it actually really isn't, because if you were to do a slam build with ignites, you'd want to take this Ramako Sunlight for the minus 20% damage over time, and you'd want to take this Fist of War, but you can't take both because this Tawhoa's Forest Strength now doesn't do anything for ignites, whereas it used to double your damage, right? Now it just does another attack, which for ignites doesn't do anything, right? That, you know, it might refresh your duration of your ignite, but it doesn't really actually do anything. And you need to take these 2 nodes because these are like the defense nodes. So if you're doing ignite, I'm not really sure what nodes you would be taking here. You would be taking probably these 2 nodes, this node for sure, and then one of these other 3 nodes, and then using a Forbidden Flash or something to get this one. But that seems really strange. It would make a lot more sense if these nodes weren't connected to each other, and like you could just get 2 Guama's War Herald straight from the center here. Then you could actually do some sort of slam ignite build, but you can't actually do a slam ignite build because you have to path through Tawhoa's. So this doesn't really make any sense. There's no synergy here between these 2, and that's really, really, really unfortunate. Yeah, Fist of War doesn't work with Tawhoa's Chosen. The ignites need the Fist of War, but you need to path through this first, so you end up wasting a point. It all really doesn't make any sense for ignite build. Now, it does make sense for hit-based builds, and I think that's basically all you're going to be able to do if you come through here and you take these. Or maybe potentially a poison build, because poison can stack it. You know, it can just keep stacking, whereas the ignite can't, right? So potentially you could do some sort of interesting, like, poison slammer or something like that here. That could be really good, but I mean, there's not a whole lot of like support for that on this end of the tree. Maybe you could do like a strength stacker with those replica Alburn's boots or whatever it is, the ones that give you the chaos per strength. Maybe something like that you could do. So yeah, those are my general thoughts on the ascendancy and like how it's gone so far. I guess I'll just hop into a map and just kind of like show. Let me just throw a map on here. This is just like a basic like tier 10 or something like that. I'm just getting into red maps now in this character. I took a couple days off because I was hanging out with buddies, so I haven't got as far as I normally would. Okay, actually, before I go over there, let me take off the multi-strike so you can kind of just see what happens. So one thing, because Leap Slam is a slam, it'll actually create the Tawhoa's Chosen. So if I slam here, you see the slams going off. There's the Tawhoa's Chosen slam. If I use my Flicker Strike, you can see the Flicker guy comes out. It's kind of hard to see because it's happening like almost instantly. Let me see if I can like get away from an enemy so you can see. Okay, there you go. So as you see, it goes off. And if I put on the multi-strike back on, you'll see that I do the triple, but the Tawhoa's Chosen does not. So that's really unfortunate. Alright, so let me just throw in all my buffs now, and we'll actually like do some clearing here so you can see how this build is functioning. And actually, it's working really well for clearing. Yeah, pretty good. So basically, because you have the +3 strikes from the ancestral call, and the Tawhoa's is like basically doubling that, right? So you have 1 plus 3 times 2. So we're looking at 8 strikes per cast. You know, and well, once every second for the Tawhoa is chosen. Just trying to like get into some bigger packs here so you can see how it kind of chains. So it plays like a Flicker Strike build. It's nothing too crazy special. It is nice. It does definitely have really nice splash damage. Like when everything's stacked up, things just kind of blow up and implode, right? Which is really nice. I'm just kind of like self-casting. Where'd she go? Self-casting my curse right now, but like ideally you'd want climb ability to hit ring or something like that. Single target's like not that great. But again, this is a week 1 build. I don't really have that great of gear. I'm in basically all yellow gear. Like I have like my Oros, which is I don't even have a 6 link for my totem. Like I've got like basically all yellow gear here. The only nice piece of nice gear that I have is this Ol's Uprising. Everything else is like pretty basic. So yeah, what is this build good for, and what is Tawhoa's good for? I think clearing like big packs, it's fantastic. Early mapping and things like that, Flicker Strike and Oros on this kind of build is really good. Would I recommend this? Probably not. I think there's probably a lot of other ascendancies that could do this better, like Slayer or even Juggernaut, maybe. I think it's kind of sad. Like the best nodes for the Chieftain. I mean, you could just get Forbidden Flesh or Forbidden Flame and get one of them, and then just have all the rest of your nodes come from a better ascendancy. So it kind of does feel like Chieftain, because like all of these things like don't really work with each other, might just be like a pick one Forbidden Flesh or Flame node for other class kind of ascendancy, which is kind of sad. I was hoping for something really good with this. I liked playing the old Chieftain, but this is kind of weird right now. I guess as some final thoughts, I'll give some kind of thoughts on the nodes that I haven't taken too. Like I haven't like done a whole lot of testing with these, but I think this one is so hot garbage. It's such a small chance to explode. This just goes without saying. I think this one is really good, actually. The -20 while you're stationary is very good. I think the recoup one is actually pretty good too. Maybe like a B tier, maybe not like as good as the other ones, but still pretty good. For the type of build that would use it, this would be pretty decent, I would think. And then this one here, I think is terrible. I think the strength that you would get from the not the jewels in the radius or whatever is like not really significant enough. Maybe if you had enough jewels in here, you could get enough strength, but it doesn't seem like a lot. And then it just does seem like the increase in reductions to other types of damage, like line. To get anything good from that, you have to travel really far away from the start, and I don't really think it's worth it. So yeah, I think basically it's got this ascendancy has 2 dead ascendancy points. It's got like an A tier and an S tier. Maybe this is like a B tier. This is probably in the right conditions an S tier. This and this are like borked tier because they don't work properly with like what you want them to do. So they're kind of like awkward. And I think this one is in the has a bad travel node tier. Like you shouldn't even really take it. And I have it, but like I don't even know if this is even worth it. But there's like nothing else to take, so you have to take it. So yeah, I don't know. I would say my yeah, I don't know what to even say. Other than maybe probably don't play Chieftain. If they had kept this as the 100% damage, and this worked with the Tawhoa's Chosen, this would be an absolutely insane broken ascendancy for Ignite, and even for like big hit builds. But in its current state, I think it's just not as good as it could be, and it needs a lot of quality of life changes or some like reshuffling of the positions of these things for it to be usable. All right, well, that's what I think of this ascendancy. If you have any questions, shoot them in the comments below. Tell me what you think. And thanks for watching. Leave a like if you like the video, and have a great one, guys.